everyone. We have a tornado warning active in our area in Texoma. This is up in Colgate County, or Cole County, I should say, near Colgate. Steve, show them where it's at on Doppler 12.
Okay, here we go, folks. This tornado warning is going to be in effect until 11:45. Now, this is based on a radar-based rotation detection, and we can see this located. They say it's, they being the National Weather Service, says 7 miles northwest of Centrahoma. So it's in this complex of storms here between Tupelo and Lula. It's hard to see it. This is not a classic signature where you have this big, well-defined hook, but there is a potential tornado in there. Now, we have been watching this very intense complex of storms. In just the past half hour, Brady and I were talking about it during the 10 o'clock news about the remarkable increase in the lightning in this thunderstorm. Now, often when you see that, you see an intense increase in lightning. That means a very strong updraft. And, of course, the tornado, or potential tornado in this case, is the updraft. So they all kind of tie together. Now, the potential tornado is located within this red polygon. Brady, if you can click that, we can show the folks the tornado warning perhaps. And again, it does cover sort of the north central part of Cole County here and a tiny sliver of Pontotoc County. Really, we're primarily concerned about the northern part of Cole County here for this tornado warning. It does go until 11:45 p.m. And National Weather Service said that 7 miles northwest of Centrahoma, they felt like this region right in here could present a danger for a tornado. That's why the warning was issued. But again, this storm is putting out just a dangerous amount of lightning. We haven't seen one put out this much lightning in quite a long time, in many months, really, to see this concentrated area of lightning. And what Brady has done here is he has drawn a box around this cell and taken a 10-minute lightning count on the computer. 457 strikes in 10 minutes. Do the math. That's about 45 strikes in a minute, or almost 1 per second. Just a crazy amount of lightning. And again, that again kind of gives you an indication of the intensity of the storm. Now, the potential tornadic portion of the storm, located right about here, is apparently tracking east at 20 miles per hour. Now, I sat there staring at it myself, and I'm not really sure if I agree with that direction analysis, but in any case, it's moving in some sort of an east or northeast fashion like this. If it moves northeast, it'll move out of our viewing area up toward Gertie and up toward the north of McAllister. But if it does track to the east, then it would affect areas to the north of Colgate. Now, we had a tornado warning in this same area about a month or two ago. It's a pretty sparsely populated area, but hey, if you're in it, I know you care about this, and so we're going to stick with this until the tornado warning either expires or is changed to some other place in southern Oklahoma. Right now, it does go until 11:45 for the polygon you see there. Moving in a little closer, you can see some of the communities affected include Centrahoma, and it does not affect Colgate. If you look closely here, you can see the polygon outlined. It does not include Colgate in the danger for this storm. The track of the storm suggests it would go to the north of you. Now, there's the big picture with that thunderstorm in motion, and I'm going to clear that box off the screen so you can really get an appreciation for how massive this thunderstorm is. I mean, this thing's a beast. Look at this mess. And I'm going to do a little height scan on here, so we'll stop the storm, stop the motion. First of all, let me look inside and see what kind of velocity we have. Of course, the tornado is based on the potential couplet, and there actually is a pretty healthy couplet here, Brady. Looking at this on the velocity scope. To the east of Stonewall, to the north of Colgate. Let's do a little query. We're going to check the velocities in here. There are some respectable values, so I think there certainly is potential for some damaging wind or even possibly a tornado in this storm. And again, the folks that are north of Colgate are in the area affected by this. Brady, take a look at that.
Yeah, that's a pretty massive. I mean,
mile per hour
you can see that. There's the speeds right there. And yeah, I agree with you, Steve. It's interesting because we've been seeing this whole thunderstorm track to the northeast, yet the tornado warnings going due east. And I would imagine, I would have guessed the path would have been continuing to track with that right there. Yeah, I mean,
I think I see why they're doing that now. This one little area of the storm is kind of wobbling off in a different direction than the main storm motion. Here. But you know what I think is going to happen here? And I'm going to come over there and join you on the wall. Okay. I think what's going to happen with this, and again, we temporarily have this kind of a lopsided wobble to it. It's going to start to come like that. It's going to start to kind of imagine it's wobbling around some other area inside the storm that we can't see. So we're just seeing this little bit of motion to the east, and the official movement is east at 20 miles per hour, but I believe it'll start to kind of wobble around to the northeast like so and take it up toward Gertie, Oklahoma. Again, Colgate, you're in the clear. You're not in the warning at all, but there definitely is some strong wind out there. When we see gate-to-gate shear of 77 miles an hour, or a velocity of 63 miles an hour, this is damaging wind here, 60 miles per hour or greater. And when we see the total rotation, that's what the gate-to-gate shear is. That's the red side and the green side. And you see that difference between them up that high does indicate there's certainly potential for something in there of a destructive nature. And that's why the tornado warning is in effect.
Yeah, there's 77 mile an hour gate-to-gate shear. So yeah, this thing just really flared up out of a very intense thunderstorm, and I'm just going to read what's on associated with this warning that was issued. I mean, as Steve mentioned, this is a very rural part of northern Cole County, and this is a very, very active lightning storm associated with it. We even got a hail core. Yeah, there's the recent scan on Doppler, and this is a big area here with this storm. I mean, you can see if you're in Ada right now, you've been seeing a light show, and now you're starting to see some rain as well. But then down here it is right here, this right north of Centrahoma. That is the area we are concerned with that has the tornado warning on here for northern Cole County. But this entire storm is very large. You can see down here in Jesse, Frisco, Stonewall, and then Leader, Lula, JD, all these areas that have been encompassed with this sort of slow-moving storm. I'm going to go ahead and check to see the speed they have on this moving right now.
They got it at 20, and I did zoom in a little bit more, Brady, so we can actually get some towns on here.
Okay.
There just aren't that many to identify.
Right.
But it looks to me like the most dangerous part of the storm could be right here between Tupelo and Centrahoma, somewhere in this region. Now, they said 7 miles northwest of Centrahoma was where the center of the rotation was when this warning was issued about 15 minutes ago. So up in here, it's kind of a broad circulation here indicated on this, but you saw a moment ago when we scoped it out, there were some winds to almost 80 miles per hour in the cloud level, okay? So we think somewhere north of Centrahoma will be the most dangerous part of the storm. It's not giving us a classic hook like we would see sometimes. We don't want that because you know what? If you have a hook, that means you have a very powerful tornado, probably an EF2 or larger. So if we're not seeing a hook, Brady, that's a bit of good news, actually suggesting that this would be a weaker tornado if there is one in there. Still dangerous, though. Even an EF0 can do a lot of damage.
And hail associated with this. We got 1-inch reports of hail right around Stonewall. And
we do? We do?
Yes, yeah. The NWS just came down. 1-inch reports of hail right there. I'm going to scoot over to Max Radar so we can get a hail scope on this.
Okay, so Stonewall, of course, folks, back in here.
Oh, wow.
And the hail core is really picking up. If you watch the loop here, Brady's got it on a loop for you here.
Right, I'll freeze it and back it up.
Yeah, we're going to stop this and put it in manual mode. Many times you track the hail core, which is produced by the updraft. You're very close to the most dangerous part of the storm. So we're going to back this up a little bit. Here's Highway 377, Fitztown down here, Ada here. Watch as this hail core has pushed to the northeast. You can go ahead and scroll it forward now.
Yeah.
It has definitely intensified, and if you'll click on the center of that on the last frame.
Okay.
Click on that blue. I think we're looking at some golf balls or something close to it there.
Right. See if I can get right there in the middle of it. Yeah, $half size.
$half. Now the computer normally is about 70% of what's really there. So tack on a little bit to that. I think we're looking at probably some golf balls ish, maybe some eggs for that. And this is located fairly close to where that most dangerous part of the storm was pinpointed by the National Weather Service. They've got the potential tornado up right in here. So it's in the same complex of the storm, folks, where you see this little kink here in the storm pattern. Go ahead and run that loop there, Brady. Let's take a look at that in motion.
And there it goes.
And let's just go ahead and click on that polygon so we can highlight the tornado warning again.
Okay.
And this tornado warning, folks, is for a little sliver of Pontotoc and a good chunk of Cole County until 11:45 p.m. Brady, do me a favor and slide that blue box over on the left, because I wanted to highlight to you folks watching from Colgate that you are not in the tornado warning. A good chunk of Cole County is, but it does not extend down to the county seat there, to Colgate. And if you're watching from Ada, you're also not in this warning at all. You can see a tremendous amount of lightning off your east. If you're watching from Allen, you may have some strong winds. The severe thunderstorm warning, which is the larger polygon here. Brady, go ahead and highlight that briefly if you could.
Okay.
We do have a much larger severe thunderstorm warning, inside of which is that tornado warning. Well, the severe thunderstorm warning, nothing to sneeze at. We're talking about torrential rain, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and as you saw in that hail core, I'm just going to call it maybe some golf ball hail in there. Now, we've had a confirmed report of 1-inch hail, which is quarter size, but the hail core indicator on the radar suggests there's some bigger stuff than that in there near Stonewall and coming across now the northern part of Cole County. Jesse, you'd be in the path of this as well, and it will continue to push to the northeast at 20 miles per hour. The official word on the tornado movement is to the east because it's kind of pivoting around inside the larger circulation. It's kind of a confusing deal. Imagine a carousel of horses going around, but then the horses are also spinning. It's kind of like that. We got these little whirls inside the larger storm. That's why the storm's going that way, but the official notification of the tornado or potential tornado is that it's moving this way, and so that can be a little confusing, but that's why the polygon is configured the way you see here. Let's zoom out and see what else we have in Texas I'm going to look at right now. Brady, let's take the big view of the whole viewing area.
And zooming out. So, yeah, that's up in the northeast portion of Texoma.
Looks like that's all we have right now, folks.
Right.
These thunderstorms down to the south and west have been putting out some monster lightning too, but they're well down to the south and west of Fort Worth, and notice they're kind of just staying in this same area, causing some pretty significant flash flooding. There have been some ping pong ball hail at least in these thunderstorms. Also been a couple of tornado warnings down there. This is in the Mineral Wells vicinity, as you can see, but that's not really affecting Texoma. We don't think it will. We're watching that. If you're watching us from even Sherman or Gainesville, you might be able to see this lightning in the sky. But of course, off to the north is where we have the one threat currently that we see in Texoma, and that is this tornado warning storm that is really just kind of exploded out of nowhere here in the last hour. We were doing the 10 o'clock news, and Brady and I were sitting there saying, little cluster of storms is forming. I wonder what's up with that, because we haven't had much of anything all evening.
They just continued the warning for it. Yeah, I saw them reset it. So yeah, they've locked it in. They just kind of repositioned it.
Would you mind reading that, because you've got the
sure,
the text information over there?
Yeah, let me.
So this is a tornado warning, folks. If you're just joining us, the National Weather Service did issue a tornado warning. They took Pontotoc County out of it, evidently. So it's just for Cole County now, is shown by the outline, and also the blue status box tells you it's just Cole County. So a tornado warning for a good chunk of Cole County, does not include Colgate. That goes until 11:45 p.m. And meteorologist Brady Blackstock here with me will read a little more about what's going on with this warning. I'll step out of shot and let you look at the storm we're concerned about. Brady?
Yeah, so just 2 minutes ago, the National Weather Service has identified the severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. So they have not identified a tornado, but they have decided that this thunderstorm is capable of producing a tornado. Located 7 miles south of Gertie, moving east at 10 miles an hour, so very slowly at 10 miles an hour. The hazards, of course, tornado risk is high in this tornado warning. Golf ball size hail, as Steve mentioned earlier, and this is just, they're using radar just like we are to identify that this storm is a big issue in Cole County. So the impact, flying debris will be dangerous, so they're clocking some pretty big winds with this. To those caught without shelters, mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This tornadic thunderstorm will remain over mainly rural areas of northeastern Cole County. So good way to take precaution. If you're living in this area, you need to take cover now. Move to a storm shelter safe room, interior room, lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid those windows. And if you're outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. So that's the report from the National Weather Service for this tornado warning that was issued right a little bit after 11, but they just reissued it because it's moving very slowly and also in a very peculiar fashion, because the entire thunderstorm that's east of Ada is moving kind of northeast, but they do have this tornado warning polygon showing that the tornado rotation is heading eastward. So, I mean, I kind of expected to kind of also move a bit to the north too, Steve.
Yeah, Brady, in fact, I think really if we have to have a tornado warning, we're pretty fortunate to have it where we do because Gertie's to the north, Colgate's to the south, Tupelo's off to the southwest. We're in an area where there are very few population centers. Of course, any tornado is dangerous, and we certainly hope that that is not coming up toward your place. But we do see this to be one of the more thinly populated areas in all of Texoma to have one of these. So if you do see something where you live, please let us know on Facebook and, of course, notify the National Weather Service or law enforcement. That's even more important than telling us because they'll disseminate that information to everybody at one time. We do not have eyeballs on our radar. It does a great job of showing us where the rotation is, where the potential damaging winds and or tornado are, but there's nothing better than a pair of eyeballs to confirm that. Now, the National Weather Service, when they issued the updated tornado warning, which removed Pontotoc County from the warning, it's Cole County only now, the northern half, they bumped the hail up to golf ball size. What we were saying a minute ago, Brady, we definitely think there's at least some golf balls in this thing. Can we go back and scope that out with the hail again? Let's take a look with our hail scope at what's going on inside this storm. Woo. Okay, we've got a major hail core here tracking right across the northern part of Cole County. And that's right where we think the most likely spot for a tornado would be, too, right in here. So I think saying $50, and I think I'm looking more like about an egg-sized deal here. So something in the 2-inch range is very likely. And just go ahead and loop the whole thing there, if you will. We can watch the way the hail core is tracking. Now, if you notice, ladies and gentlemen, as we run the hail core loop, there's sort of a kink in the pattern here. That could suggest the rotation associated with what we call the tornadic portion of the storm. Now, we have not seen at any time during this report actual information of a tornado on the ground, but I did see a report of a funnel cloud off Highway 48. So that was spotted by a train spotter, not touching the ground, not on the ground. In fact, it has to be on the ground to be a tornado. Folks always say there's a tornado on the ground. Well, that's what a tornado is. We don't have that information at the moment that there's definitely a funnel in contact with the ground. But we do know that this storm has produced a couple of funnel clouds, so it's right on the verge of producing damaging weather at ground level. And you're maybe asking yourself, well, is it going to be a tornado or not? Well, this is where our science ends, and we have to just be vigilant because we're right on the edge. Is it going to be touching the ground, or is it going to stay in the clouds? The fact that we have a spotter who saw it, and can we do a velocity scope again on that there, yeah. Brady? When we see the numbers in the scope start to match up with spotters on the ground, our confidence or our fear, however you want to look at it, of that becoming a tornado to start to increase. Go ahead and stop that loop, and I'm going to suspect right in here, here's your couplet, here's your most likely spot for the tornado to be. As you can see, about halfway between Colgate and Stewart. And we've got some pretty high velocities there, 76 mile per hour gate-to-gate shear. And again, a funnel cloud was confirmed by the public. So we're looking at something that is potentially a tornado right now. Look at that, 85 miles an hour. Now, in my experience, if you get up to about 85 miles an hour of rotation, your odds of having a tornado are a little better than even money.
Take a look at that, Steve.
Oh, look at that. Okay, now we're up to about a 70 to 80% chance that there is a tornado in there. 105 mile an hour of gate-to-gate shear. Good Lord. So this thing's picking up strength. Would you scroll it back about 20 minutes, Brady? We're going to watch the evolution of this couplet together on Max radar. Okay, you can definitely see how the colors were not as bright. The contrast between the green and the red, when they're brighter, close together, that indicates higher speed. Go ahead and roll it forward now, buddy. And you can see how things are really cranking up here. So I believe this storm is either producing a tornado now or is in the process of producing one very soon. Definitely seeing those very high contrasts between the red and the green on the velocity scale. Let's switch over to Doppler 12 if we can. Okay. Go ahead and bring that up. Trying to match this up with exactly where this is, and it's just in an area with very few towns to pinpoint it, but it's north of Citrahoma. It's definitely north of the highway here, on up into this region of Cole County, southeast of Lula. That'd be southwest of Gertie, in that general area of Cole County. And again, dangerous hail indicated in this storm too. Strong rotation, a pretty high likelihood there's some kind of a tornadic structure in there that may be in contact with the ground right now. How big is it? We don't know that. We haven't had any reports of that. I'm going to step out of the shot for a sec. We're going to check the latest information from the National Weather Service on what may be happening in here. Here's an update 2 minutes ago. National Weather Service continues the tornado warning until 11:45. At 11:16, A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 6 miles south of Gertie. Now they have the forward speed at 15 miles an hour. The National Weather Service further says that they're keeping an eye on 2 areas of rotation within Cole County, one just north of Tupelo and the other southwest of Gertie. Pardon me. So, there's a tornado warning on the big picture, folks. It's this little red polygon here. There are 2 areas of rotation. Now, the main one we're watching is south of Gertie. That's where we had the 105 mile per hour of gate-to-gate shear. Second area of rotation that could be a problem. Here's a, okay, we're going to stabilize that shot right there.
Yeah.
We have one area of rotation that could be right along, looks like Highway 75 here, north of Colgate, and the second one that would be southwest of that toward Tupelo. What does all this mean to you? Well, if you're in the path of this storm, take cover. That's the bottom line. This storm is dangerous. We know it's got big hail in it. We've had reports of quarters. That's not all that big, but we're getting indications of stuff maybe twice that size, up to eggs. So, hey, that's super dangerous right there. Don't go outside. Don't try to watch this off your back porch. Don't sightsee with this kind of a storm. The hail core is really pretty monstrous on this, and it's heading in the general direction of Gertie with a secondary hail core here between Stonewall and Tupelo. So that's a lot of damage there, folks, that could be happening right now in Cole County, Oklahoma, as this tornado warning continues until 11:45 p.m.
Steve, I'm going to ask the control room if they can throw up Max 2 so we can see the Ada tower cam, because, I mean, you can just see right here. This thing has been going off for the past almost hour now while we were doing the 10 o'clock news. This Ada tower cam has just been lighting up, and we were going over all the lightning strikes associated with this. With you, I figured I'd give you a break from all the radar views, and because this is what it really looks like. I mean, we're fortunate to have this tower cam up here in Ada. This is aimed to the east, right of that storm. So yeah, anybody in that area is seeing this light show. Very, very frightening looking, with, I mean, up to 500 lightning flashes is what we clocked on there. Thank you so much, Control Room. If you can go and throw it on back to Max 1, we take a look at the radar once again, and then see, now you have a visual. You see all these lightning strikes right here on the radar, but you just saw them right there on the tower cam. It was just constant, one after another. That is a lot of lightning associated. And so not only is there this tornado warning here in Cole County, but it is surrounded by a severe thunderstorm warning because, I mean, you saw it right there with all the lightning, and that hail core is just incredibly significant. Golf ball sized hail just coming out of this thing constantly. And I mean, pretty much exactly where you see this thunderstorm, there is hail associated with it. And we saw on the velocity couplet where we suspect if there were to be a tornado, that's where it was going to be. It was going at about 100 miles per hour. And is that a second tornado warning on there?
I was just going to say, Brady, I was going to interrupt here. This has gotten even more confusing because we have our tornado warning for the storm we've been tracking, which is most likely somewhere in this region as far as the tornadic circulation. Right. And before I do anything more, I'm going to scope that out for our viewers because
it moved up here.
This is a little confusing. There's so much going on. There it is. I'm going to slide it over here. So the most likely location of tornado is going to be up here north of Tupelo.
Yeah, right northeast.
Okay, northeast of Stonewall,
Tupelo.
and northwest of Centrahoma, right in here. And we're seeing a pretty impressive velocity couplet right there. So right. Certainly a chance there could be that. And there was a second circulation we were tracking earlier. This was not quite as strong as circulation number 1, which we believe is up in the northern part of the county. That one seems to have weakened somewhat. It's kind of a big old mess, and that's why the National Weather Service, there you go.
There's one.
There it is. This one's up in the extreme northern part of the county.
Right in Non.
Near Non. And
so right along 75 right there.
This one's got the more impressive shear on it. This is the one we've been tracking over the last half hour or so. If y'all have just joined us, this is what we call long-form coverage of a potential tornado moving across northern Cole County. Can you see that couplet there as I scroll back and forth? It looks to me, Brady, like it's moving almost northeast. So I don't think it's moving east any longer.
And we were questioning that earlier because they had the tornado warning kind of going to the east, even though the storm is tracking northeast. And it looks like the new tornado warning is northeast of the original warning. So it looks like they're trying to straighten it out and get it a bit more accurate as this, it's now encompassing the northern parts of Cole County and going in to the county right north of Cole. Is that Pittsburgh County?
I turned off the lightning so we could see better what's going on here. That is going to be Hughes County there to the north,
Hughes
including
County.
the city of Stewart. So we have 2 warnings. The first warning I've just highlighted is for the storm we originally broke in to warn you about that is now located. It looks to be getting close to Gertie, about 5 miles south of there. That'll be leaving the News 12 viewing area shortly. But a second area of circulation developed, and the National Weather Service, being concerned about that, issued another tornado warning. This one goes till 11:45 p.m., and this is for a confirmed funnel cloud, not on the ground. I'm going to come over there and join you, Brady.
Okay.
We've got, this one was a confirmed funnel cloud. Also, this storm is producing golf ball hail. We've had some confirmed very large hail. And earlier, spotters did say a few minutes ago they saw a funnel cloud on Highway 48 in Cole County. So, again, it's gotten that far. It's gotten far enough to produce a funnel cloud. And very typically, they'll issue a tornado warning when a funnel cloud has been spotted with this level of velocity. We're seeing 80, 90 miles per hour of gate-to-gate shear. That's more than enough to, better than an even money chance that we've got a tornado in that storm.
Interesting enough that Cole was not under a tornado watch. They issued that at about 10 o'clock. And I mean, clearly they were ready for something this gigantic to come. So, I mean, this was a very sudden storm, popped up. It wasn't tracking across Texoma, just fired up.
It just exploded.
It just exploded. I mean, quite literally, with that many lightning strikes, 500 lightning strikes, I mean, that's a bunch. And then with the big hail core, and now, yeah, so I believe this is the original warning that was kind of going to the east, and then this is the new one that now has it extending all the way up to Stewart.
Yeah, Hughes County.
Hughes County.
This is kind of tough to decode all this, folks. We're doing our best to share with you that we've got basically a large and very dangerous storm over Cole County moving into Hughes County. And within that one big storm complex, there are 2 centers of rotation. That's what we're looking at here. I'm going to jump back over there and scope it out. If Brady, you want to stay on the wall for a second?
Yeah, sure. And right before you do, maybe back out, since we're pretty zoomed in on this, so we can give people a little bit better. Yeah, I can see Ada. Yeah, here's Ada all the way over here. That's a good point of reference right there, the northern part of Texoma. So Cole County right to the east. And this is north of Colgate and Centrahoma, though it's starting to look like they're getting some heavy rain down there as well.
Yeah, Colgate is not in the warning, but the weather is not nice, but they're not in the tornado warning.
And keep in mind, this is the original tornado warning, but I mean, they still have it up because, like Steve said, we're tracking 2 rotations associated with this massive thunderstorm that is now encompassing multiple counties.
Here you can see, as I've highlighted the scope, there are actually 3 potential centers of rotation here along the edge of this. Now, we get in a little tighter. I think we can appreciate it. And again, we're looking for the brighter colors. So this rotation here near Gertie is the most intense it appears. Look how bright the green is there.
Yeah, and it looks like it's heading northeast towards Stewart.
We can scroll this back and forth. And look right there, you can see there was definitely something going on right there a few minutes ago at 11:07. That was about 20 minutes ago, Brady. I think there definitely could have been a tornado in that at that time.
Absolutely.
Looks like it's still pretty strong. We're going to get a fixation here for you, a number on it. And this area north of Centrahoma is also picking up. It's showing
72.
Now I want to call y'all's attention to something on this. Okay. Now when we have this kind of long form coverage, this is an opportunity to not only alert you to what's going on, but maybe to share a little information, help you understand what we're doing back there in the weather office the rest of the time. So when we see the gate-to-gate shear and the velocity number the same, that usually indicates a straight line wind. So what's happening, I believe, in here, we've got a couple of very intense tornadic circulations. This one is unquestionable. Look at that bright green there. That hasn't been checked. I haven't clicked on that, but that's probably a very strong rotation there that could be a tornado. But down here, when we see these 2 numbers the same, straight line winds are probably wrapping around the back of this circulation. We call that an RFD, a rear flank downdraft. So it can be in one direction, 70 miles an hour. That's dangerous. That's almost a hurricane force wind. And this is the thing about these tornado warnings you got to remember. Look at this one here. Now we're definitely getting the shear and the velocity are different signs. That indicates strong rotation there. We're probably having a tornado in that, either aloft or on the ground. That's a pretty high number there. I would say you're definitely looking at about a 60 to 65% chance that there is a tornado somewhere along Highway 75 here. To the west of Ashland, okay, southwest of Stewart there. Would you mind scrolling that back and forth a little bit, Brady?
Of course.
Let's look at the evolution of this this core right here, it really has gotten stronger in the last few scans. It's kind of been varying a little bit. This definitely appears to be the most dangerous aspect of the storm as far as tornadic potential.
You can even see it spinning there, Steve, as it's going through.
Yeah, so that's the max danger for a tornado right here. But even that secondary region that I polled a second ago that I queried with the computer showing you 70-mile-per-hour winds, your takeaway from this is you need to be taking cover anywhere in the path of this storm, okay? But even after the tornado warn portion has gone by, this is a violent thunderstorm. There is a severe thunderstorm warning. And in fact, for this entire complex, for golf ball hail and winds of 60 miles per hour, possibly as high as 70 miles per hour in this particular case. I'm going to check the National Weather Service to see what they've got new to share about this. And this storm has actually gotten quite a bit of attention. It's been doing a lot.
Just going to switch it over to the Ada Tower cam just so we can see all these lightning flashes because it is bright out there.
Okay, the warning now is for northeastern Cole and southeastern Hughes County. They say that golf ball hail and a tornado possible. Pardon me, and that's going to be
there's
5 miles south of Gertie.
Yeah, that's so hard to see because they're just there's the two that are overlapping. And
leave it right there so you can see Gertie, though.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the lighting.
Zoom in just a skosh more. I'm going to get Gertie back on there.
Yeah.
All right, it's coming. You have to zoom out a little bit. So the bottom line is, folks, that we're monitoring this with an eagle eye, if you will, keeping a close watch on it. And I gotta brag on a meteorologist, Brady Blackstock, back here. What a great asset to our operation. Really nice to have him along with us whenever we have extreme weather like this. Now, if we pause that, you can see right here. Go ahead and hit the stop button on that there, Brady. That purple indicates usually just one thing: large hail. Now, the Weather Service has upped their estimate to golf ball size. We scoped it out a little while ago. We got 2 hail cores. Now, these 2 hail cores kind of correspond to the 2 areas we think that could produce tornadic winds. This is the most dangerous area. This is leaving Cole County shortly, heading up into Hughes County towards Stewart. But there's still some dangerous weather all across northern Cole County. Now, look back to the right, or to the left, I should say. Down here by Stonewall. Can you scroll over a little bit that direction, Brady?
Oh, yeah.
There's a new hail core developing there. Is this the latest scan?
This is the latest scan.
So we have a new hail core developing now near Stonewall, right off Highway 3. And
wait, is that a third? No, that's a third warning now. That's another tornado warning.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, so here we go. We got a new tornado warning. How about you move that box over and I'll let you read that warning while I
absolutely. So we now have 3 overlapping tornado warnings with this one giant storm. So the latest one, this was issued at 11:31, so just 1 minute ago.
Right here.
A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located 5 miles north of Cintrahoma, moving northeast at 35 miles an hour. An additional area of rotation was located near Gertie. We were trying to get that locked in on the map. But tornado, golf ball-sized hail, so same threats associated with the previous 2 warnings. Again, this is radar-indicated rotation. We don't have a spot or eyeball in this, but locations impacted are going to include Tupelo, Stewart, and Gertie. Again, take cover if you're in these areas. This is a massive storm, so you want to be steering clear of windows because, I mean, not only are we dealing with some strong winds, but we are dealing with up to golf ball size hail, and I mean, these are some massive hail cores. So we basically have 1 severe thunderstorm warning with 3 tornado warnings in it as well. It's kind of a jumble in there.
Yeah, go ahead and let's scope that thing out with the velocity scope because we're going to try to make some sense of this. It's just like a big bag of weeds, isn't it? Well, that's what we're here for, folks. Big picture, this is a very dangerous storm. If you just think of it that way and don't try to pin down exactly where each of these danger areas are because it's really hard to make sense of this. But if you want to do that with me, the areas that are where the couplets are here, back over here to the north of Colgate, over here to the east of Stonewall. Those are the 3 potential tornado areas. This is the newest one that a warning was just issued on, so that'd be very close to the intersection of Highway 48 and Highway 3 here would be one of the potential tornadoes. We've been tracking this one for some time, now located west of Ashland and southwest of Stewart, south of Gertie. This was the initial tornadic signature, the spin on the radar that prompted the first tornado warning. Now that tornado warning will expire at 11:45, and either way, we think it'll be leaving our viewing area by then. Once it leaves Cole County, it's out of the News 12 viewing area, and so that'll be off the table. We'll have just 2 of them left to worry about. If you'll scroll that back and forth, Brady.
Yeah, you bet.
I hope y'all can appreciate how this is moving. What we have here is basically one giant rotating thunderstorm, okay? And as it's turning, it's interacting with other air currents, both aloft and down toward the ground, creating this ripply effect you see along the front edge of the storm. And so these tornadoes are spinning up along this boundary in the atmosphere. It's not a cold front, but it's a wind shear environment that is interacting with these air currents and causing these tornadoes to spin up. Right now, I think the most dangerous one is still located up here south of Stewart, but we do have the new one that is trying to form here east of Stonewall. And y'all know what to do in these things. Take cover, okay? That's the bottom line. Also, dangerous hail. Look at the hail core north of Centrahoma here. Look at the hail core west of Ashland. These are the 2 most dangerous areas. Look at this thing. It is just going crazy with the hail. Brady, I'd like you to touch that dark blue dot there west of Ashland. Pull that. Okay, it says $50. That means it's bigger. It's probably eggs, probably 2-inch diameter hail there. And if you think about the storm, these storms, well, how tall are they? Let's do an echo scan. We haven't done that in a while. We're going to see how tall the storm is. That's directly related to the hail size. And this thing is huge. I'm guessing that's about 57 calets, 55,000. Okay. When they get a storm that tall, it's got such strong air currents in it. It almost always produces large hail. Also, we haven't talked much about this, but there's torrential, flash flooding quality rain in these things. Let's go back to the reflectivity display if we could, Brady. And if we were to click on one of these storm elements, but not where the polygons are. Let me come over there and do that.
Oh, yeah. No, I flipped them off. And then,
Let's see what... Well, okay, it's probably a little high. Let's hunt around in there. We're going to find a 2 or 3 inch per hour rainfall. There we go. That's pretty representative. Leave that up if you would. We're very confident that this number is probably in the range of what we're getting here, maybe even more than this. $1.66 an hour, 1.66, 1 2/3 of an inch per hour rainfall accumulation. This is very likely even a little bit low, okay? So on top of the tornado risk and the large hail threat, we've got a flash flood threat. Now here's what's going to happen, I hope, for you. After this storm moves through and you're safe, don't drive around in floodwaters, okay? That's a good way to get in trouble, especially at night. You can't tell how deep it is. There might be road damage from runoff and things like that. So I would just stay off the roads until the morning and allow this really vicious storm to go on through. It's quite an incredible storm because it's moving so slowly and it just keeps perpetuating more and more of these wind shear events, which are what the tornadoes are.
So, once again, we have 3 active tornado warnings associated with this large thunderstorm that has been producing so much lightning, so much hail, pretty much just, the entire kitchen sink of severe weather that when we're talking about tonight even. And this was an unexpected event that popped up just in the past hours and just fired up. And I think even the National Weather Service is having a difficult time dealing with this massive storm because one of the issues is that there were so many storms near Oklahoma City. That's where all the storm chasers were. Everybody was over by Oklahoma City. And then all of a sudden, this pops up. And now I would guess there's no chasers over here. They're all the way over near Norman where all the other storms were. So we don't have very many eyes on here also just because it is a rural area. So radar is really all we have to go by with these massive storms. And we've had our Ada tower cam showing a bunch of lightning strikes. Let's go and throw that back up on Max 2 again if we can. Our great control room staying here late night with Steve and I as well. It's not just the 2 of us. We have a whole team here keeping an eye on these things to make sure everybody's safe and aware. So it looks like it's getting a little farther away from our Ada tower cam, but still seeing a lot of lightning associated with this massive storm. There's a good one right there. So thank you so much for putting that view up. We'll go back to radar because we still have, here we go. Yeah, Steve's put a velocity scope on this. And basically where you're seeing these notches, that's where we are concerned of a potential for some circulation definitely some strong winds. Now, we haven't seen any reported wind gusts. Of course, Centrahoma. Now, we do have a mesonet measurement site there, so we might see a pretty intense wind gust there on the mesonet. We'll have to check on that in just a moment, but I imagine it's going to be upwards of anywhere from 40 to 60 miles an hour. Now, what about that?
There's one.
91 miles per hour gate-to-gate shear. So, yeah, and what about this one right up here, Steve, just right to the north of that? You can see that bright green dot right there. That one looks pretty intense as well.
These are moving out of the viewing area. This particular couple of it, that is a very high probability of being on the ground there west of Ashland.
119 miles per hour. So, yeah, they're trying to keep their bases covered. It's one thing when you see a tornado warning. It's a whole nother ballpark when you have 3 overlapped all on one storm. I mean, this thing is intense.
I've been doing this a while. I don't think I've ever seen 3 tornado warnings on one storm like this. This means this is all the same storm.
Wow.
And the environment is such that we're seeing, just watch the ripples, if you will, along the leading edge here where we see the contrast. You see this bright green element here? You see that bright red element there? That indicates a high rotational difference between them. The air is going this way on this side and it's going that way on that side. So when you put those together, we call that the velocity couplet, and that's what we're hunting for. We're hunting around inside the storm to see what that rotation might be. So where we just queried this, obviously there's some very strong rotation there. Gate-to-gate shear of 119 miles per hour almost always means there's a tornado on the ground, and probably at least an EF1. So this is an extremely dangerous storm. That has been the part we've been tracking the longest, but back to the south and west, we do have a new warning that has been issued for this area, which, Brady, I think doesn't look quite as strong, at least not now.
Right.
We're not seeing the contrast that we are up there. But that's still potentially, because the wind shear is so strong in this entire storm. I think this storm is so intense, it's modifying its environment and just kind of perpetuating itself. I'm going to jump back over here, and I want to show you the lightning on this thing. It is just incredible.
So this scan of 119 miles an hour just west of Ashland, so heads up there. Another thing, odd thing about this storm system is just how late at night it is. Usually at this hour, we expect maybe a severe thunderstorm, but to be getting this much tornadic activity is also incredibly rare at this hour. But as Steve just mentioned, this storm is becoming a beast all unto itself. So, yeah, I mean, just look at the amount of lightning. I mean, yeah, get a scan on that. That's got to be near 1,000.
Oh, my gosh.
On the money right there.
In 10 minutes.
That is intense. Yeah. We'll go back to Ada Tower Cam, not just yet. Hold it. We're going to hold it right there. Yeah, Steve, get back over on here.
Well, the fun part is doing the math. So if it's 1,000 strikes in 10 minutes,
right,
it's 100 strikes in a minute. That's almost 2 per second, folks. I mean, this is insane. This is really off the scale for one cell that's, maybe 30 miles across to see this. So that's another reason, Brady, you never want to go outside and do tornado sightseeing off the back porch at night. First of all, it's super humid out there. We call these HP supercells, high precipitation supercells. You ain't going to see nothing except the lightning. If there's a tornado in there, you're not going to see it until maybe it's too close, okay? So that's the number one thing that's off the table. And then the lightning itself is so dangerous. We strongly suspect that at least one of these cells does have an actual tornado in it, and that can produce flying debris. So this sounds like you want to uncheck all those boxes and just stay in your place of safety until this thing goes by.
Right, yeah, this thing, and once again, they're still buried in there because it's red boxes on the red indication of the storm. But yeah, 3 tornado warnings in there, Ada right there. Actually, yeah, control room, let's go over to the Ada Tower Cam now, because if we're getting 1,000 strikes, this thing should just be completely lit up. Like it's on max 2, so
Christmas in May.
Yeah, so, yeah, it should just be completely bright out there. But yeah, there we go. Oh, well, it is a little darker out there, so I mean, it is just about midnight. But yeah, you can see it right there off in the distance. But yeah, there it is, just going constantly. So that's our best view of it. This is aimed to the east in Ada. And so, yeah, not as bright and exciting. I can see a few strikes over closer to Steve. There's a few more. Yeah, I guess we just need to be a little bit patient with him. But this is at East Central University. So Ada is right on the edge. So Ada not getting any rain out of this, but that's the big storm off to the east, and that's the closest view we got of it right there.
I'm going to jump back on him, switch back to Max.
Let's switch back over. Thank you for that, Control. Again, 1,000 strikes this storm has just kind of continued to grow. And it was very warm over there. I believe it was in the upper 70s, even as we were going into our 10 o'clock newscast. So it's got plenty of warmth to keep that thing going. And it is, we had one report of 35-mile-an-hour speed for the tornado. One of the other tornado warnings had 10 mile an hour. And just in the past 30 minutes, we haven't really seen it go very far. It's very centered on Cole, centered right above Centrahoma. But yeah, if you look at the big picture, yeah, it's a good thing to remind everybody else in Texoma, just about 80 to 90% of Texoma is in the clear. This is the main ball game right now here in Texoma, and it is a big game right there. So yeah, do we have an update? It looks like they've consolidated the warnings into one.
Let's take a look here. We do have this tornado warning still in effect until 12:15. Let me read that warning to the folks because sometimes it'll help bring some clarity to this spaghetti bowl of stuff tonight, okay? So this just came out. National Weather Service in Norman says that tornado warning continues for north central Cole County into southeast Hughes County. And this is for a tornado and golf ball hail, radar indicated rotation. This is possibly 5 miles north of Centrahoma, okay? That's in that same region with all these warnings we've been following tonight. And I believe now we do have, one of the warnings has expired, Brady. So one of these has now dissipated, it's been allowed to expire. We have, it looks like just one warning now for Cole County. There it is. It's this one warning is all that's left. They've consolidated these to help make it easier to digest the information. So until 12:15, they have added a tiny sliver of Pontotoc County, which is really just like a mile or two there, right along the border. But essentially, it's for the northern third of Cole County. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 5 miles north of Centrahoma. This was a few minutes ago. And it's moving northeast now at 35 miles an hour. So there could also be golf ball hail in this storm, which we've been talking about the threat of large hail for some time with this. So this is down to one tornado warning. We also have a severe thunderstorm warning for this entire complex of storms, and that's located inside of this polygon. What in the world are we telling you? We're telling you that, number one, the entire storm is dangerous. But within this dangerous storm, there are places that are of heightened danger, and that is where the tornado warning is. So first, here's the severe thunderstorm warning. This will go until midnight. Golf ball hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds are possible anywhere in this polygon you see illustrated right now on your screen. So this is really essentially almost all of Cole County, a sliver of eastern Pontotoc County. That's the severe thunderstorm warning. Now we take the lightning off the screen for a second to help you identify where the tornado warning is, and that is going to be this polygon. This tornado warning is for, again, a very small sliver of Pontotoc County, which you can see here, but primarily Cole into southern Hughes County. This is for a potential tornado 5 miles north of Centrahoma. So I can help you find that a little better on Doppler 12. There's Centrahoma. So north of that, right up in here, doesn't look like much, but you can see a notch right here. So southwest of Parker, southeast of Lula, north of Centrahoma, and this relatively unpopulated area, southwest of Gertie also. That's where the more likely place for the rotation is. So this is the other one that has not left the viewing area. The first one that we broke in and started this coverage at 11 o'clock has left the News 12 viewing area. It's up in Hughes County now, and we're no longer concerned with that one. But we have this one storm left that is still in Texoma, so we'd like to query that, take a look inside it with the velocity scope, and you can definitely still see, Brady, some areas that are suspicious. In fact, look at this one right here. This looks pretty bad right here.
Yeah, right there. That's a lot of bright green, 77 miles an hour. Though, like you mentioned earlier, when they're equal, that's more indicative of straight line winds, but we do see a little red in there too. So
yeah, these are high winds. Look at that.
There it is.
That could be a straight line wind or a tornado, but that's high wind there. That's dangerous. That's bad. That's really bad out there. That's we're along Highway 31 here, north of Cairo.
Right.
Some folks pronounce it Cairo. However you say it, that's where that is.
Not in Egypt. And then north of exactly, of Cairo. That is the name of the game right there. That is where we suspect to see the strongest winds. Now, I looked on the Mesonet, Steve, and Stewart clocked at the Mesonet site 66-mile-an-hour wind gust.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
Yeah, and Stewart has been in this tornado warning, no matter which one. Like we mentioned, they did consolidate it, so they did finally work together, and Stewart's right up there at the corner. So even though they're on the edge of the tornado warning, already reporting 66-mile-an-hour wind speeds, and that's just on the measurement. They can go way faster than that, so.
Yeah, that's going to be right here in Stewart.
There, yeah, so that is official. We have that on file, that Stewart clocked to 66-mile-an-hour winds, and so we can pretty much extrapolate that this entire storm, they're getting very strong winds, and again, we've seen massive hail cores associated. I can only imagine it's just been pouring golf balls out of the sky there for right now, coming up on about an hour is how long the storm. Well, it does look like, yeah, maybe roll that back. Yeah, it does look to see.
I think we're seeing some good news here. The hail looks like it's definitely decreasing.
Yeah, it
and
does.
If the hail's decreasing, that could indicate an overall reduction in the strength of the storm. Let's take a look at the echo tops here. They're still pretty monster.
Yeah, they still look about 55K.
Those have not yet started to weaken, but the hail is diminishing somewhat. Now let's check the lightning out.
Yeah, they're
That's
still
another good
gigantic
indicator of the storm intensity. Now we had 1,024 strikes 15 minutes ago. Let's see what we have now.
I'd say
Well, it's even worse now. So there's so much for that idea.
Yeah.
It's not happening yet, but we do see, interestingly enough, the hail has started to decrease. That could be a sign that hasn't caught up yet with the other elements of the storm, that something is starting to decay, or
Right.
it could be what they call cycling. That's something I think that is important to note on these types of storms, folks, where we have multiple warnings coming out. One expires, a new one is issued. These storms will pulse, so they'll strengthen. They'll maintain their strength for a while, then they'll weaken a little bit, and you'll think, okay, good, the storm's weakening. But lo and behold, it starts to strengthen once again. And we call that whole process cycling. And just like your air conditioner, it comes on, cools the house, and it goes off, and then it repeats that over and over. And these storms can do that several times before they finally start to trend downward. And so what we have to do as a meteorologist is not just look at 5 minutes of storm history or even 10 minutes, but we look at, say, 20 minutes. And if the trend is all in one direction, hopefully in this case weaker, for like, say, 20 minutes, then we can start saying, okay, the storm is not cycling. This time it's actually starting to weaken. We haven't seen that yet. So the tornado warning does continue for, again, northern Cole County. We're not really getting a good specific location on that like we had earlier, but I would say that the most dangerous part of the storm is over here near Highway 31, where we showed you that velocity scan a minute ago. But anywhere in this mess, we have high winds possible, large hail, and even without a tornado, the straight line winds could be 70 or 80 miles per hour in this exceptionally messy storm. So I cannot convey enough how dangerous this storm is and how you just want to treat it like it's a tornado no matter where you are in this thing. That's the deal. If you're here or if you're there, you want to stay away from the windows, stay in the middle of your home, lowest floor, smallest room, all those things you've probably heard 100 times. This is when you use them. Okay, it's bad news here with this storm. And my gosh, look at this. We're seeing a really high velocity couplet here. Again, right off of Highway 31 there. Well north of Colgate, south of Stewart, about halfway in between there. That would not be too far from Parker, I don't believe. And also over here to the west of KXII, that's Reed McIntyre's hometown. How about that? Well, west of there, we also have a pretty high shear indicator there. So this storm is generating these spin-up areas of high velocity with fairly good likelihood in this range of numbers that we do have something, a tornado in contact with the ground. Brady, even monitoring the National Weather Service chat room, have we seen anything from them on any of these storms as far as an actual confirmed tornado?
Yeah, so about 20 minutes ago, they mentioned that they were consolidating the 3 tornado warnings down to 1. But let's see, Ada, let's keep in mind that Ada is to the west of this storm. Even though it's a very massive, slow-moving storm. Oh, well, it looks like they just issued a flood advisory for Atoka, Coles, Hughes, and Pontotoc, basically wherever the storm has been, which makes perfect amount of sense because even though we've been talking about the tornado threat, we've been talking about the lightning, the hail, it is still constantly raining where that thunderstorm is. And so I guarantee you the flood advisory is very intense, and that's going to go till 3 a.m. for the next 3 hours. So definitely no need to be driving around there. in northern Cole County at midnight as we're going into Friday. So let's see, keeping an eye on rainfall in southeastern Oklahoma. May need to, yeah, and so flash flood warning. Yeah, so right now it's an aerial flood advisory, but they're now considering a flash flood warning, which I mean, I would go ahead and suspect that's where it's going.
Y'all need to just stay off the roads if you can. This is a bad one. I'm pulling up the rainfall reports here from the Mesonet for these areas. And
oh, I'm sure that is.
we don't really have, it's all in between the rain gauges, but I guarantee you had over 2 inches in some of these areas. So let me highlight this quickly before we go back to the tornado warning thing. If you've been with us, you know we've been covering this tornado warning event for about the past hour, and there still is a dangerous storm in northern Cole County, north of Colgate, north of Centrahoma, that may contain one or more tornado cores on it, okay, and along with large damaging hail. But on top of all that, like Brady was just telling you, with the torrential rainfall we've had now for about the last 90 minutes, the National Weather Service has issued a flood advisory for what counties again? It's Cole and...
Cole County. Oh, the flood advisory for Atoka, Cole, Hughes, and Pontotoc. So 3 of those are in Texoma. Hughes is just right north of Cole.
So it's probably the western part of Atoka County, Cole County, and parts of Pontotoc County where the rain has been from this monster thunderstorm. And so again, stay off the roads if you can tonight. Be aware in the morning you may allow extra time, may need to allow extra time to get to work or school. Watch out for erosions, potholes, areas that may be washed out. I mean, this rain is coming down, folks, 2 or 3 inches per hour. We've got damaging winds, possibility of a tornado in there, large hail. It is not a good night to be traveling. And that kind of weather is tough on the roads. So again, please allow extra time to get out where you're going in the morning and use extreme caution, especially on a lot of the rural roads in the areas we're talking about, which already have taken a beating from the weather the last few months. We would want you to be safe in that regard. Let's go back now to our primary concern, which of course is the tornado warning.
Yes, so once again, massive thunderstorm that has appeared and seems to be a self-contained event at this point.
Turn the lightning off so we can see what's going on.
Oh yeah, and then so the warning box goes down from Stonewall, even though it's looking like Stonewall is now on the western edge of this. This box is more coming in here, and you can just see the intensity going all the way up. Stewart, we did get a report of a 66-mile-an-hour wind gust, though our radar has been indicating upwards of 100-plus-mile-an-hour wind speeds associated with this massive storm. And it is right on the edge here of Texoma. It's been in northern Cole County and staying there north of Colgate, even though it looks like Colgate's starting to get a bit of rain associated with this as well. And hail has also been very strong with this. We've been seeing multiple hail cores associated with this.
I see something that might be good news. And again, it's just a subtle change. But if you watch with me, folks, this is a 30-minute loop I've set it on. Look at all the purple hail cores. Well, they're starting to get smaller and a little less distinct. It's a subtle change, but you can definitely tell the difference from 30 minutes ago when we had some of that bright pink and bright purple. Now that's becoming a little less noticeable. And you might recall a few minutes ago, Brady and I showed you the hail scope and how the hail cores were starting to shrink. So we're seeing that trend continuing now for about the past 15 minutes, a very subtle decrease in the intensity, and if that will continue a while longer, we can start to feel good about this storm weakening. It's still a little early to be that confident with it. Now, this warning will continue for about 15 more minutes till 12:15. And again, as Brady mentioned, the most dangerous part of the storm seems to be tracking now up in this direction into the far northern parts of Cole County.
And it's starting to even head towards McAllister and Lake Eufaula slowly. But I mean, I know that there's plenty of people that might even have lake residents up there as well. So, I mean, and this is, I mean, I'm sure that nobody wants to be dealing with hail damage up there, but yeah, it definitely looks like the hail cores are weakening. But yeah, we are only 15 minutes away, so I expect to see this warning repositioned at some point.
Yeah. This storm is such a mess that I don't think we're going to be able to get rid of the warning as fast as our friends out there in the viewer land would like.
They have 3 thunderstorm warnings kind of looped on all over this. So yeah, they've just been throwing every warning they can at this storm.
Sometimes it's better just to boil it down and say this storm is capable of producing a tornado anywhere within the polygon we've highlighted here. And outside of that, it's still capable of damaging straight line winds and large hail to golf ball size. We're seeing, again, a gradual trend down on that. Now, this is interesting. It says they're going to let the tornado warning expire
Okay.
and issue a downstream severe thunderstorm warning
Okay.
with 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail.
All right. So yeah, basically what that means is this tornado warning that is going to last till 12:15. They're going to leave it up, which means we're going to be up at least for another 15 minutes. But this storm's not going away. This storm's not vanishing into thin air. It is going to continue, and by the looks of it, tracking northeast. So basically downstream into McAllister, Lake Eufaula, getting out of our Texoma viewing area. But the good news is that it looks like the hail cores are weakening, which then means that the threat for the super severe parts of this thunderstorm are also weakening. And I mean, I think we're just going to be dealing with a bunch of flood advisories here fairly soon.
Yeah, now they're saying that this is moving to the east at 35 miles an hour. So this thing has changed direction more times than I did my major in college. I really didn't, but it's really been a mess. And what's happening here, like we told you, there's a large rotating system, and inside of that there are smaller sub-rotations. So it makes it just a big whirligig trying to figure out where this thing is going. And if you watch the entire storm, it looks like it has started to shift to the east. It was going to be northeast earlier. I think that's pretty clear, Brady, that the storm is starting to push off to the east. And we're doing a scan on that. They're saying 35 miles an hour on the forward speed.
Yeah. Let's zoom out and get a track on that so we can see.
Backstage, and she was really nervous before she left because she didn't know if Billy was going to recognize her.
Right.
So they're at the concert, and she's sitting, just off stage. And my mom is the type of person who never wants to make a situation.
So we're going to stop the motion.
There's Lake Eufaula right up there along Highway 69.
Now I'm going to track the cores here, so we're going to start like this.
Oh, our friends out in Clayton, looks like they're getting some remnant storms as well. So there's Clayton. Yeah, Clayton definitely part of Texoma. They're experiencing a little rain now, but they can expect this whole thing moving into Pushmataha County a little after 1 in the morning. And there's a list of everywhere that's coming in my direction. Yeah, this is starting to move a little east. I'm sure the rotation involved with or tornadic risk of this started to reposition the direction that this entire storm, as it was mostly just standing very still over Cole. I mean, it's been over Cole for about an hour plus now, maybe an hour, hour and a half. And now we're starting to see even more storms pop up east of it, because it is just, it's becoming its own force of nature pretty much at this point.
We're going to do a little scan here, Brady, and see how much rain this thing has produced. So what we're going to do is stop the motion of the storm.
Oh, right, yeah, that's a cool thing we can do here on the radar. Yeah, we can switch it. And this will show the amount of, this is radar indicated precipitation. Steve's going to get it set up.
This is just 3 hours worth, folks.
Okay.
And watch as I scroll this.
Right south of Gertie, that looks like the big part right there.
Okay, this is just 3 hours worth. Hold on. There we go. I mean, that's a lot of rain in just 3 hours. If I poll that, you can see that we're looking at 3.5 inches, almost 4 inches of rain there. Now, I believe this is a radar estimate, but I think it's pretty darn close based on what we're seeing in the storm and the reflectivity, which is the rainfall rates in these. Just very high rainfall rates in this part of the storm. So anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain has fallen there. That's going to cause some significant flooding of creeks, things like that. And that's why we urge you to really avoid this area if at all possible through the morning hours. Allow this stuff to run off and get us back into a good way there. We're going to reactivate the radar now.
Still under tornado watch, should be said, right? That tornado watch is going until 2 in the morning for Cole.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, keep that in mind. We've been talking about the warnings, but tornado watch in effect in Cole and even Atoka, though I don't believe they did expire, the tornado watches down in the Texas counties. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you, even though we've been focusing on this giant storm up in Oklahoma in Cole County. And so, yeah, the radar indicated rainfall is very important because the measuring tools we have at these sites can often be flawed, because if you're dealing with 100-mile-an-hour winds, then the rain's not going to fall right into a rain gauge. It's going to blow right over it, and so it's not going to record. I believe the Mesonet was showing just a 0.20 a 20th of an inch at that site, and we know that a 20th of an inch, a lot more than that
That's
has
right.
fallen.
In fact, there's something called a tipping bucket rain gauge, which is the automated type of rain gauges most of these sites use. So it's two little scoops mounted on a seesaw type of pivot. So when 1/100th of an inch falls on one side, it tips down, drains out, then the other side goes up like a seesaw. Then 1/100th of an inch falls on that side, and it tips back and forth. Every time that tips, the mechanism records that. But here's the problem.
Yep.
When it rains really hard, you get a lot of splashing, and the gauge will not record as much rain as actually has fallen. Sometimes they can be off by 30 or 40%. And of course, you can get stuff that accumulates in there, like bugs and whatnot, too, if it hasn't rained in a while, and affect the accuracy of those gauges. So a lot of times, the Doppler estimates are almost better than the rain gauges. Okay, so as Brady mentioned, North Texas is now out of the woods. The tornado watch was allowed to expire for Cook, Grayson, and Montague County. I mean, this is the trouble spot right here. And we think this is generating so much rain-cooled air, it could cause some storms to develop in Atoka and Pushmataha counties as it pushes to the east. It's unlikely they'll be as strong as this thing, but the energy supply that this storm has employed has probably depleted some of the surrounding areas from their available energy. So we would think that this is probably the most severe storm we'll have, and the general trend should be for these things to gradually start to wind down. And with that in mind, when we hit 12:15,
right,
if there are no more tornado warnings, we will let you watch something else. But it's our commitment to you and to the science of meteorology to stay with these kinds of storms as long as there is a tornado danger. And again, we can't overstress this fact, Brady, that even without a tornado, we've shown you tonight the kind of winds these things can produce. You don't have to have a tornado to produce 80-mile-per-hour winds. And whether it's a tornado or a straight line wind, if it's 80 miles per hour, we're talking hurricane force. We're talking trees coming down, power lines, roof damage, life-threatening wind speeds. So don't focus just on the fact that, okay, they didn't say a tornado was on the ground. Focus on the fact that we see a storm that could produce that kind of wind. Okay, I'm going to step out and put that back up.
Right, yeah, and it looks like Pushmataha was added to the tornado watch at some point, as we saw with the track. I mean, Clayton's already seeing some rain. This storm's going to head over there too, so they're definitely keeping an eye on that until 2 a.m. And yeah, like Steve said with the damage, a lot of times we think, oh, there's only damage with the tornado. And when we say flood damage can be just as devastating as having your house blown down if your house fills up with water. And you hate to think about it, but I mean, with this much rain coming down, it is definitely possible, especially if people have basements or even storm shelters. So got to be worried about that with all the flooding going on, because that is a lot of rain, and it especially causes a lot of rain when it just stays in one spot for an hour. So yeah, as we saw on the radar indicated, anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rain. That is a lot in a short amount of time. So once again, we have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings starting out into Pittsburgh County, heading up towards McAllister. So it is kind of tracking to the northeast, but we are still seeing a part of this. I mean, it's its own thing there, Steve, and it's kind of going east a bit too. And it looks like Colgate's now finally starting to get in on the rain, the lightning, and I don't know what the hail's at right now. It looks like we have the severe thunderstorm warning until 12:30 in the morning. But again, we'll be off air. We're just waiting for this tornado warning to expire at 12:15, which by my count is about 7 to 8 minutes from now.
This warning that I've highlighted, which is a severe thunderstorm warning, is for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. So that's considered a lower level warning compared to some of them. It's still serious business, but we're not looking for the hail to be as large as it was. And I can get you the tornado warning polygon here. It's still under the tornado warning for just a few more minutes, and we're expecting that tornado warning to be allowed to expire with the overall storm having definitely weakened. Yeah. And I'm going to suspect, Brady, I'm going to do a height scan on this thing. I'm going to suspect that we have lost some of the updraft.
Yeah, we were at 55, 57K. Yeah, it definitely looks, I mean, still have the pink there.
But it's still putting out 58,000. So.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, it's still a very massive storm, but
see, the hail
but the hail cores have
hail's definitely decreased.
Substantially decreased.
But the lightning has not, and neither has the tops on this thing. So it's still got some life left in it. It does appear that the rotation of the storm is diminishing. even though the lightning is not. And I tell you right now, I haven't seen a storm with this much lightning in a long, long time. It's just remarkable the amount of lightning this thing is producing. Imagine if we could harness the lightning from this one storm. We could probably power the whole state of Oklahoma for a month. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, it's basically daylight right there in that area. I mean, it is bright out there with that much lightning.
And I'd like to illustrate something to be a little more serious about this. So this is another reason that with storms like this, you just don't want to be outside doing any sightseeing. Lightning can strike 10 miles away from the storm. With these kinds of thunderstorms especially, they have very large anvils that are hanging out in front of the storm, and lightning can come out of those anvils even when it's not even raining where you are. So again, a very
A few flashes out there.
very rapidly changing environment. As we saw between 10 and 10:30 when this thing started to form, it was just like, oh, what's going on here? Oh, my Lord, it's just getting bigger and bigger. Okay, I think we're going to have a severe thunderstorm out of this. Okay, we got a tornado warning. All this happened in very short order. And the storm has continued to maintain itself despite the fact that the indication for a tornado has definitely decreased. We're really grateful for that. The wind shear is decreasing in the storm, but the updraft intensity, which is fueling the storm, it's the fuel injector, if you will, is still running full blast. So we're going to be able to get rid of the tornado threat, it looks like, but not the threat of large hail, although the hail's not as large as it was,
Right.
and lightning and flooding rainfall. Again, this really should have a flash flood warning on it, I think, already. A flood advisory is kind of like flash flood light. It's not quite as bad as a flash flood warning, but it's kind of giving you a heads up that it's getting there. So this is probably going to have a flash flood warning on it before long. And really, this could be the kind of runoff that would last into the morning hours on Friday, this intensity of rain. I mean, just repeating over the same area now for more than 2 hours, I'm sure there's some really bad problems going on inside of northern Cole County, southern half of Hughes County. We're not getting many reports out of there in the middle of the night. Brady, anything coming in?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything right now. Just about 10 minutes ago, they're just repositioning these warnings. And I mean, still we have the tornado warning, the one in effect that we've been talking about that goes until 12:15, so for another 5 minutes. And there has not been a flash flood warning put in place. There is a flood advisory for the areas that we've been talking about because this severe thunderstorm has just been producing so much rain in addition to all the other threats.
And the heaviest rain from our Doppler estimate we did a little while ago, where I switched it over and showed you all that at home with we call a pixel query. I clicked on that and it showed you the rainfall. Well, the heaviest rain has been from Gertie, where we think about 3 to 4 inches of rain has fallen, all the way down to about halfway to Colgate there. So the northern half of Cole County has gotten probably about 3 to 3.5 inches of rain. Most of that falling in about 90 minutes. So that's about 2 inches per hour of rainfall. That is torrential rain, the kind of rain we get when we have flash floods around Texoma, with creeks coming out of their banks and roads being washed out and things like that. Now, we haven't had any reports of that kind of stuff, but this is why we're urging you, when you get out in the morning, be super aware that something might be off, okay, on that. Just be watching for that very closely, especially if the other guy's not doing it. Make it your mission to be super safe on your way in tomorrow. And hey, it's going to be a Friday, so you want to start it off good if you can with that. Turn off the lightning, would you, Brady? There's so much of it out there. We're getting over 1,200 lightning strikes in a 10-minute period. That's 2 per second. Okay, it's a lot. So here's our tornado warning. That'll be expiring really momentarily here in about 2 minutes. And the storm has been steadily weakening in the wind shear aspect. Also, the hail size has been coming down. Lightning has not yet responded to those changes, and we're still seeing very tall updrafts on this thing, over 55,000 feet. But yes, the hail has definitely been moving in the right direction. Based on that color scheme you saw there a second ago with Brady on the scope, I think we're looking at quarters, and that's about it. Now, there is a potential problem here, southwest of KXII, in extreme northern Atoka County. There is a possibility, if you're watching from near Stringtown, there could be some damaging wind or some sort of rotation here. No word from the National Weather Service on that. But again, that's that same area of the storm we've been watching for an hour and a half. Go ahead and clear off some of those, would you, bud? So right in here, you can see extreme northern Atoka County. Here's Atoka County here. Here's Pittsburgh County. And right along that line, really, we're seeing this rotational element trying to make its way up to the north and east. And that bears watching, but right now there's no report of anything as far as any kind of a warning from the National Weather Service on that.
Right, even though, because that's moving into Atoka County, but the The tornado warning is currently, in Cole and Hughes, so it'll be, but, they did say that they were not going to reissue the tornado warning, so it looks like they're just going to stick with the severe thunderstorm warnings, which again indicates very strong wind speeds, which can be just as damaging as a tornado, and the aforementioned lightning, even though the hail looks like it's down to about probably pea size, pellet size.
If you're watching from down toward Bromide, we're seeing a new thunderstorm developing down here. Now, it does have that kind of a shape. We're a little concerned about it. Just, again, popping up recently. Turn the lightning back on, would you there, Brady? Because I want to see how much lightning this storm is generating. And it's nothing compared to the storm we've been watching. There's not much lightning out of this storm at all, in fact, and that's good to see. But this whole area has kind of been the breeding ground for these storms. They just barely get started here around Wapanucka and move northeast and just blossom into these monster storms we've seen kind of persist in the same area. There's some sort of a weak spot there in the atmosphere that's helping these storms to reform over this same region. I believe it's probably a little upper jet streak coming across here. It's not really showing up in the analysis, but something is making this happen in the middle of the night. It's not daytime heating. There's not a cold front in here, anything like that. So
there
wow.
goes the warning.
There's the big picture.
Yep. That's the big picture, and they have just let the tornado warning expire for Cole and Hughes. And the latest report, they're going to let it expire. They're not seeing too much of a rotation with the portion of the storm, so they're going to leave it on severe thunderstorm warning.
All right, so folks, what we're going to do is give you a chance to look at something else beside us. But Brady, come back over here real quick, because I want to applaud this gentleman here for his great help, and hopefully this has been some help to you. Hey, if something has happened to your place, let us know on Facebook, or you can even call us 903-892-6397. That's 902-893-NEWS, and let us know about it. Now it's the middle of the night, so we've got a couple folks back there that will be happy to answer the phone if you call us or email us. You can email us at weather@kxii.com. Another way you can let us know what's happened. But if you got some pictures, send those in. KXII.com/photos. You do that, we'll put them on the air and show folks what you got at your place. Hopefully you got nothing, but if you got some hail or some damage, hey, let us know. We're not omniscient. We rely on you and the Weather Service and law enforcement to tell us what's been happening in this monster storm. But the tornado warning is gone. So we're going to let you watch something else, but we're not done yet with the possibility of more trouble out of this storm. So keep it on News 12 and your Weather Authority app for updates.